Hey guys, so I'm just going to cut right to the chase. As you can see from the title of this video, I screwed up pretty badly on stage in front of a lot of people. And as much as that sucks and as embarrassing as that is, I wanted to use it as an opportunity to make a video where we listen back to it, break down what went wrong, and talk about some ways you can avoid making mistakes on stage and how to cope with it if you do make a mistake on stage in front of a bunch of people and how to navigate the emotions that you might feel afterwards. So let's get into it. All right, so first, let me give you a little backstory on this gig. So the band JJ Grey and Mofro, who, if you've never heard of them, they are a sort of soul, funk, blues, southern rock band that's based out of Jacksonville, Florida, where I'm from. They are a national touring act, and for the past couple years, they have put on a sort of festival called the Blackwater Soul Review at the St. Augustine Amphitheater music venue in Florida. And being from Jacksonville and just in the music scene there for a number of years, myself and the band that I play in called Smokestack have become friends with all of the members of JJ Grey and Mofro. And we're just a small local band, but these past couple years, JJ Grey has generously let us open one day of the festival for them. And most importantly for the story of this video, he has let me and our other guitarist, Jack, sit in with Mofro on the main stage for the encore. So the final song of the night, he's let us come and sit in and jam with him, which is just a huge honor and surreal and just like so much fun and an incredible experience. And so that first time we sat in with them on the main stage, everything pretty much went off without a hitch. Everything was great. We had a fun time and it was just all groovy, right? So this year rolls around and we get invited to sit in with them again for the encore, same kind of situation. This time, though, we don't know what song we're going to play. All JJ tells us beforehand is that it's going to be a 1-4-5 in the key of C. Now, pay attention to that, key of C. That's going to be important later. But whenever someone tells me a 1-4-5, I typically assume that it's going to be some sort of blues. So just like a, like a blues progression, right? So eventually the band finishes their set, then the encore comes and they call us on stage. So me and Jack walk out there. And sure enough, when the band starts, it's kind of a funky, bluesy sort of thing in the key of C. So like that kind of a thing. And once I hear the progression go around once, I'm like, okay, yeah, I got this. This is just blues, 1-4-5, C, like no problem. So we go through a couple verses and then JJ points at Jack to take a solo. So he goes first. And then I take a solo. And so I step back, go back to playing rhythm. Everything's good. We go around, I think, one more verse, and JJ points at Jack to take another solo. He takes his solo, and then this is where disaster strikes. I actually haven't been able to bring myself to watch this part of the video yet, so you're about to see my real-time reaction of listening back to this for the first time of my mess up on stage. All right, so here we go. Okay, so one thing real quick. All right, so I actually don't feel quite as bad now. I'll watch the rest in a second, but let me explain what happened right there and what's about to transpire. So like I said a minute ago, the song is in the key of C, right? What JJ didn't tell us is at the end of the song, they change keys up a whole step to the key of D. The groove goes from to to just vamping on like a D 7th chord or like a D9 sort of funk groove thing on the 1 chord. And keep in mind, if you've never played a big stage like this, they can often be pretty boomy and echoey, and it can be pretty hard to really hear what the other instruments are doing, right? So in the moment when this was happening, I had no idea they changed keys. I could hear that something was different. I thought that like maybe they're just staying on the 1 chord or something, and I could kind of sort of hear horns in the background a little bit, but like I couldn't really tell what was going on, and I didn't know that they changed keys, so I just keep on soloing for a good while in the key of C while the whole band has switched to the key of D. And that's disastrous, right? But what makes me feel a little bit better about myself just watching this back is JJ did point at me to take a solo. So this whole time, when I've been just like going through what happened in my head over these past few days, I thought that I had misinterpreted JJ's hand signal and that he was doing this to say go up a whole step. But, you know, all of this in the moment was kind of a blur. So I kind of forgot that he did in fact point at me to take a solo. So I think now I can see what happened is he wanted me to take a solo, and he wanted the band to go around again, around the normal form in the key of C while I take another solo. But the band didn't get his cue, and they went on with the key change up a whole step to the key of D. So I guess my screw up isn't completely my fault then. So I feel a little bit better about myself right now, but still, let's just go ahead and listen to the rest of it and just see how it sounds. So yeah, right here I'm kind of starting to be like, what's going on? I'm looking at him. I still don't know what's up. Just keep going. Oof. I'm sounding really unsure of myself, like what is going on. So then I figure out like, oh, we've gone up a whole step. I was just playing in the wrong key that whole time. Sweet. And then we just end the songs. So there you go. That was my screw up. And in that moment, I was mortified. I was like, oh my God, I just totally screwed up horribly in front of so many people and just totally made a fool of myself. So even though like I understand more what happened now and I feel a little bit better about it, in the moment when that happened, I was just in my head. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, did I really just do that? Are you kidding me? And JJ was really nice about it. He was talking to me after like, dude, it's okay. No worries. Like, it happens, like that was my bad. So that helped a little bit, but like literally the entire rest of the night after that, I was just like, I could barely like form sentences. I was just like, God, what have I done? Just like replaying the moment over and over again in my head. So I was kind of in that headspace for, you know, a good few hours, just kind of like really just down on myself. But luckily I have some really great supportive bandmates and a wonderful supportive fiance who were all kind of around me saying like it's okay. And just after a day or so of just kind of reflecting on it and just kind of working through it with myself, I kind of made peace with my mess up. Which brings me to the real conversation of this video, which is how to not beat yourself up if you mess up on stage. If you are ever in a situation where you're on stage and you mess up in front of some people and you just feel really down about yourself, then just try to remember a few things. Try to remember that we're all human. Even your favorite, greatest musicians are all human, and everyone makes mistakes at some point. And if you're on stage playing in front of a bunch of people like that, or if you're not even in front of a lot of people, if you're just new to playing on stage in general, you're playing with a band that you haven't really played with before, you're playing a song you haven't played before, any of those factors could make playing on stage very nerve-wracking. And in those kinds of situations, it's very easy for anyone to get nervous and just accidentally make a mistake. I think it's also important to keep in mind that at the end of the day, it's just music. You know, while I take music very seriously and it's my passion in life and it's my calling and it's what I do for a living and it's something that is incredibly important to me, it really is not life or death in any situation. At the end of the day, we're all just standing there with our instruments making vibrations happen that hit our eardrums and make us want to move and make us feel things. And while that is incredibly important, it's just not something to lose sleep over if you mess up doing it. Music is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be expressive. It's supposed to be something you enjoy doing. So just even if you take the music seriously, don't take yourself seriously while you're doing it, because again, we're all human, we all mess up, and hopefully we're all out here playing music just because we love doing it. Another thing which musicians aren't really honest with themselves about 100% of the time is that in a lot of cases, the audience isn't going to notice if you mess up. And I don't mean to say that to sound elitist towards non-musicians, like, oh, their tiny minds can't comprehend mistakes or any changes in the music or whatever, so they're not going to notice. It's not so much that, it's just that particularly in a live music loud environment, in a lot of cases, it really just isn't going to be that audible. Even to me listening back to it, like, I can tell that it doesn't sound right, but it's not like just some completely out of left field, like just completely, totally awful sounding thing that's happening. So if you do mess up on stage, in most cases, the audience either isn't going to notice, or if they do notice, then 9 times out of 10, they're just going to perceive it as like, that sounded kind of weird for a second there, and then shrug their shoulders and continue listening, because people aren't sitting there at concerts waiting for mistakes to happen like that. They're just there enjoying the vibe, enjoying the experience, enjoying the wall of sound that's coming at them. And unless the whole band like completely train wrecks and stops the song or something like that, then your average audience goer is not going to think back to your show and be like, man, that one little mess up that they did really just ruined the whole show for me. Like, they're going to think about how much fun they had at this concert. They're not even going to remember this little tiny mess up that you did where you hit a few brown notes, or in my case, if you're one musician who missed a key change amongst a whole band of musicians who didn't miss that key change. All that said, nobody wants to make mistakes on stage. So the best advice that I can give is, if you're in a situation like that where you're sitting in and you don't know the song, try not to get too caught up in the moment and lost in your own little world. Always be listening as intently as you possibly can to everything going on around you. And if the band goes in a direction, goes to a chord change that you don't know, then don't play anything. The age-old mantra of sitting in is, when in doubt, lay out. Playing nothing is better than playing the completely wrong thing over a part. And lastly, if at all possible, before you sit in with a band on a song that you don't know, ask them beforehand if there are any tricks or twists and turns in the song that you need to know about before you get on stage and play it with them. Because again, all JJ told us was the song's in the key of C and it's a 1-4-5 chord progression. And that's not to place any blame on him, because I'm sure in that moment he just wasn't thinking about that key change, because we all forget about little details like that in songs until we're actually in the middle of playing them, right? So it's up to you to ask if there's anything and make them think about it, be like, oh yeah, you know what? There's a part that goes up a whole step at the end. Now I know if I'm ever sitting in with someone like that, I'm going to ask, like, is there anything I need to know before going into this song? But even if you do everything right, there's still room for all of us to make mistakes. So again, just at the end of the day, just keep those things in mind that I said. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just be realistic. We're all human. We all make mistakes. And at the end of the day, nobody's going to remember your mess ups, and everything's going to be just fine. All right, so that does it for today's video. If you guys could please like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell notification icon to get notified whenever I post new videos, that will help out my channel a lot. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.